Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. I hope all of you are staying safe and are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions how you can have your orchid put on multiple flower spikes. And more flower spikes means multiple beautiful, bright orchid blooms. Under perfect care conditions, orchids can live inside indoors for many years to come. However, many make the biggest mistake of thinking that once the existing blooms are done, spent, and are dead, the orchid plant itself is dead as well. Hence, they simply toss the orchid plant out into the trash. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel, which offers tips, tricks, easy, yet proven gardening advice to take your home garden set at the next level, please don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. If you enjoyed the content of my videos and want to get notifications each time I'll upload a new video, please don't forget to click the bell icon below as well. Now come with me. Let's talk about all the steps you need to take to have your Phalaenopsis orchid put on multiple flower spikes at once, hence more blooms. And let's get gardening. I have multiple orchid varieties growing right over here behind me in my green room. Majority of them are not only in full bloom, but I've also put on multiple brand new flower spikes, such as this Phalaenopsis orchid that has put on three brand new flower spikes. I have this gorgeous Phalaenopsis orchid that has also put on multiple flower spikes. When you purchase an orchid from a grocery store or a plant nursery, majority of the orchids come from a commercial plant facility. In a commercial plant facility, all of their settings are maximally controlled. Controlled light exposure, controlled humidity, and controlled temperatures as well. Which is why when you purchase an orchid from a garden center or grocery store plant nursery, your orchids always come in absolute full bloom with multiple flower spikes. Plants mature due to this commercial controlled environment. With all factors being perfect, orchids put on multiple flower spikes. Orchids produce flower spikes on the side of their main stem, which you can see right over here. The main stem is also called the axis. The rule of thumb is that the orchid plant needs to have at least 3 leaves in order to be considered mature and to be able to grow flower spikes from the sides of the axis. The more leaves your orchid plant has, the more space it'll have to put on the flower spikes. Hence, the more mature your orchid plant is, the more chances that it will put on multiple flower spikes. Like many plants, orchid can bloom multiple times a year for many years to come, with the blooming period ranging anywhere between 2 to 3 months. Phalaenopsis orchid is a common orchid species that are commonly sold in plant nurseries and garden centers as well. And with very easy steps, instead of throwing out your costly, beautiful plant, you can have it to bloom for you year after year. That first key step to ensure multiple flower spikes on your orchids as well as multiple blooms is to make sure that you place and grow your orchids in a correct location. Orchids are tropical plants that require bright, indirect sunlight. The best place to grow your orchids inside indoors is near a bright southwestern exposure window. That location will ensure that you give your orchids maximum amount of bright indirect sunlight. Bright direct sunlight will cause a scorch or burn on the foliage of your orchid plants. The more bright indirect sunlight you give to orchid plants, the healthier they will be and the more flower blooms they'll put on for you. Providing an orchid plant with proper nutrition or fertilization is absolutely crucial for the health of your orchid plant and to encourage it to rebloom. The correct time to fertilize your orchid plant is during the summer months. You should fertilize your orchid plant once every 3 to 4 weeks with the fertilizer that was specifically created and formulated for orchid plants. I like to use the Orchid Bloom Booster fertilizer by Spoma Organic. The back of the bottle always lets you know how much of fertilizer to add per gallon of water. We should never fertilize our orchid plants during the spring, fall, or winter months. That next tip is keep the humidity levels high. Orchids are tropical plants that love higher air temperatures and higher humidity levels. Ideal humidity levels for orchids is anywhere between 60 to 70%, which is why many prefer to keep and grow their orchids somewhere in their bathrooms. That next fourth step or fourth tip is absolutely crucial when it comes to getting multiple flower spikes and blooms on your orchid plant. This step cannot be skipped no matter what. This tip or step is expose your orchid plant to lower air temperatures. Orchids tend to bloom during fall, winter, and early spring months as a result of lower air temperatures and shorter day hours. If you like to keep your house or apartment nice and toasty and cozy, you might have to sacrifice the flower spikes or the blooms on your orchid plant. Do not be afraid to place your orchid plant closer to a window during the winter months, or move it to a room which has much lower air temperatures. Just please make sure that the temperatures do not go below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is equivalent to 10 degrees Celsius, as orchids are tropical plants and they can die if they're exposed to very low air temperatures. But the temperatures should be 10 to 15 degrees different during day and nighttime hours. So if you keep your orchid in a warmer room during the day, make sure that the room where you keep your orchids during the night hours will be much cooler than the room where you keep your orchid during the day. I like to enjoy my orchid blooms to the last minute. I wait till all of the blooms are spent, dead, and start to fall off my orchid plant. When all of the blooms fade and fall off your orchid plant, what you might start noticing is that the tip of the flower spike, the old flower spike, will start to turn color from green to yellow or beige. What I like to do at that point is trim off the existing flower spike below the last flower bract to eliminate the top portion of the existing flower spike. By cutting off the top portion of the old flower spike, this will encourage the new secondary flower spike growth, which is exactly what you're seeing right over here on this orchid. You could see that by cutting it off, I have helped this orchid conserve the energy, hence produce additional 4 new flower spikes stemming out from the old existing flower spike. Let's say you cut the existing flower spike right below the last flower bract, yet the remainder of the spike continues to turn yellow in color. That simply means that the plant has no more energy to carry on that existing flower spike. What it wants to do is conserve the energy for vegetative growth, which means foliage or leaf growth. If your orchid plant is completely tired, spent, you will see wilting on the leaves. Your orchid plant might grow something called a kiki from its nodes on the flower bract. You could see that this orchid right over here has 1, 2 kikis growing in, and you could see the new baby root system stemming from each of them. Kiki is simply a baby orchid plant. When mature enough, you could separate the kiki or the baby orchid plant from the mother plant and transplant it into its own container. Don't be scared if you see these kiki plants growing, these baby plants growing. That again just simply means that the plant is so tired from producing the flower spikes or the flower blooms and simply wants to focus on leaf growth and reproduction. Again, the health and the longevity and the amount of flower spikes, hence the amount of blooms, heavily depends on year-round care. So if you focus tremendously on keeping the root system healthy, the foliage green and glossy, if you help focus on the humidity in the room where your plant is growing, the light exposure, if you make sure that your plant is in the correct container, you should always grow your orchid plants in a container with lots of aerial holes throughout the container. Make sure that the growing medium is correct. We never plant or grow Phalaenopsis orchids in potting soil or any sort of garden soil for the matter as well. Phalaenopsis orchids are epiphytes. In nature, they grow on bark or branches of trees. Hence, the correct medium is either bark or sphagnum moss. Another very important key factor to ensure the happiness and longevity of your orchid plant is to make sure you never overwater. Before you water your orchid plant again, make sure that you check for moisture content in the existing potting medium by either using a moisture meter or sticking your index finger roughly down to the first knuckle and feeling for moisture content. I water my orchids roughly once every 2 to 3 weeks. Again, watering will vary depending on how hot and humid it is in the room where you're growing your orchids, and also depending on the season of the year. Last tip is please allow your orchid plant to recover. No plant can produce blooms continuously throughout the year. Every plant needs a break between the bloom periods. And during those breaks, make sure that you focus on the overall health of your orchid plant. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my home in Long Island, New York, Gardening Zone 7A. If you enjoyed the content of this video, please don't be shy, guys. Show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. It's super easy for you to do, yet it's very pleasing and rewarding to me. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comments section below. Let me know what kind of orchid varieties do you have growing in your home. How often do they rebloom for you each year? Let me know what steps you take to ensure that your orchid plants get multiple flower spikes. If you haven't yet subscribed to my gardening channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor, please do not wait any longer. Do so today by clicking the subscribe button below. If you want to get notifications from YouTube each time I'll upload a new video, don't forget to click the bell icon below as well. Stay healthy, happy, be well each and every single one of you. And happy gardening, guys, and I'll see you again in my upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.